the greatest comeback in rollerblading.
John Bolino! I feel like I'm...
Back in 2012, the UK was absolutely buzzing because we'd held the Olympics for the 3rd time, but I was far more interested in what John Bolino was up to. John was well and truly making a name for himself with sections in the Truth 2, Charging, Pariah like we just seen, and Originals.
Hey, lovely jubbly!
He'd also picked up his first signature skate from Mesmer Skate Manufacturing, SSM. It featured his Create Original frame and Shredwiser wheels. Now you'd think, with all the excitement around Bolino, everything would be top of the pops. However, the next year, in 2013, John Bolino announced that he was retiring from professional rollerblading. For someone who was retired, he had a pretty good year. He won the NYC Street Invitational, taking home a fat check, and then the following year, in 2014, he won the Motortown Classic in Michigan. I mean, he'd managed to beat the likes of Broskow, Bambrick and Montre, all while he was retired. He continued to film sections now and then, but in reality, he'd stepped away from blading. In 2017, his Shredwiser VOD came out, but he says,
I made that Shredwiser thing, but I had already quit.
After that, things went quiet. Skip to 2020, and it seemed like he was maybe coming back. In May of that year, he sat down with Billy O'Neill and Austin Powers from the Jump Street podcast at a powwow and touched on what he'd been doing and why he'd stopped.
I was focusing on guitar and stuff.
Music and stuff like that. So now...
And like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, like, I got a little like jaded.
He explains that he'd given up everything that made up part of his youth to pursue professional rollerblading. And then from my perspective, it seemed like at the time that the industry just somehow couldn't work it out. They couldn't give rollerbladers what they really deserved. And at the time, that made John feel like this.
So when I spent all those years skating, I was like, dude, I was robbed of my childhood.
And I think that's totally understandable. But now, and in hindsight, John sees it slightly differently.
And I didn't realize at the time that, like, you're having a way cooler childhood being in, like, you know, South America, right, you know, this month, and then doing, you know, being in the Cayman Islands this month, and going to Germany. Like, I literally started looking at it like a job, and it made me get jaded, and that was the dumbest thing that you could ever do. Because if you do something that you love, just be grateful that you're able to f***ing do that, you know? Now I know that, but I was jaded at the time.
But you needed to take a break to appreciate it?
I needed that.
With a revived appreciation for rollerblading, he explains what he wants from it now.
I said it when I was like 13, and I'll say it again. I'm just trying to party.
He did also add,
still have some fight left.
Yeah, definitely.
But honestly, I'm kind of, I want to see if my skating can go in a different direction. I kind of grew up really techie, and I kind of want to get maybe even back into some of that. But now I like to pick and choose my grinds. I don't really like to do all the grinds.
Interestingly, he also touched on his admiration for the new style of skating. This was a hint of what was to come.
I like that new style of ripping, like Colin Neg mistrial, like lift up, like pick up the foot with the rocket and then slap it down the top mistrial. And budgets are cool now. They made like people changed my mind on a lot of tricks.
At the end of summer 2020, he dropped a self-titled VOD filmed by Casey Garrity, who's also a phenomenal skater, by the way. You should go and check out his stuff. It showed that John had quickly adopted modern trends and could mix them with technical skating, creativity, and hammers that he'd previously been known for. The edit was a well-received return, with Australian skating legend Scott Crawford even commenting, "Some of the best skating I've seen in a long time." Again, he sat down with good old Billy and Austin to talk about the VOD. He also mentioned the powwow. This is where they had the previous interview before, and how that had inspired him.
Even at powwow, I was like, fuck, dude, like, I really think I can still do it with these guys. Like, I really think I got this. I'm not fucking dead yet.
Now, absolutely full of beans, and before the year was out, John teamed up with Casey again, dropping another VOD, Roll It. The previous edit was amazing, but this one really stepped it up a notch. He earned himself Comeback of the Year from BMAG in their 2020 awards, and his self-titled VOD got 3rd in Profile of the Year. But that's not where it ends. The comeback momentum continued into 2021. He dropped an edit with LTE and Cannonball with Too Easy. With each edit, it seemed like John was getting better. His skating had evolved, but it still had the same energy and ferocity present in his earlier edits. As the year progressed, rumours started to float around about a new skate team. Then on the 30th of September, the Mesmer Skate team was announced. Mark Moreno, Levy Van Rijn, Dominic Bruce and John Bolino. It then transpired it was a joint venture between Billy O'Neill, John Bolino and Matthias Knoll, the owner of Powerslide. Now this actually makes me wonder if the seeds from Mesmer was subconsciously planted in Billy's brain from this interview after John had said,
I don't know, if those guys own the molds, maybe I'll just talk to Jeff Akers and be like, hey, just make
do NIM 2, man.
just do like
NIM 2.
You know, well, I mean, I'm sure Shima wouldn't give a I mean, like no, just put a skin on that colt and chop the toe.
Shima would probably wish you the best.
Because really, if you chop the toe and you just put a skin on it,
there you go. Smooth skate.
Now that's not quite the route they took, but potentially that sparked something. The first Mesmer Skate was going to be a John Bolino Pro model, and the comeback continued. John put on a spectacular performance at the 2021 Blading Cup on the 7th of November, taking home second place, only just losing out to Montre. Then, just under 2 weeks later, he took it one step further, securing the win at the Frankie Morales Invitational in Miami. The timing was amazing on this, and 2 days later, on the 22nd of November, Mesmer Rising, the first team video, dropped on YouTube. It included footage from all the team riders, plus one not actually mentioned on the team sheet. Did you spot who that was? Everyone came out strong, but the lion's share of footage was John Bolino. With every new bit of footage we get from John, he seems to go beyond the previous release. He answered all those questions he had about his abilities back in the first Jump Street interview in May 2020. Now, as a bit of a summary, in the second half of 2020, he dropped those 2 ridiculous edits. They were really well received, and he got 3rd in the BMAG Awards for Profile of the Year. He also bagged himself Comeback of the Year, and that momentum continued into 2021. He dropped more edits, and everybody was absolutely bloody loving him. He was announced as a team rider of Mesmer, probably one of the most exciting teams about at the moment, and it turned out it was a co-venture with him, Billy and Matthias. And he also got a pro model skate. All the excitement around the Mesmer team and him just went through the roof when that edit dropped as well. Deservedly so. Coming back to rollerblading after an extended period of time off can be a struggle for absolutely anyone, you know. Hard to get back into the stride. Things have changed, people aren't into the same stuff that you're really into, or like people have just like changed their perspective completely on what they want to see in rollerblading. Now, on top of that, imagine you're John Bolino and think about all the phenomenal stuff you've done beforehand. People are hearing, oh yeah, he's coming back, and they're looking to you like, bloody hell, I wonder if he's going to be able to do all that absolute madness he did before. That is a heck of a lot of pressure, and probably a pretty unfair thing to like measure yourself against. If you don't have the right mindset coming back, man, that could turn into a right stinker. And you know what? John isn't the skater that he used to be. He's evolved, man. He's kept his mind open. He's seen all these new things that have gone on and been like, yeah, do you know what? Actually, fancy a little bit of that, let's have a try of that. And he's taken it to like a whole new level really quickly. He's adopted all those new trends, utilized them to perfection, and applied stuff from his past as well. So he's still got that veracity, still got that energy, throwing a hammer. He's got tech, creativity, bags full of style. He's taken skating within this time that he's come back a little notch further. So not only is he adapted and evolved, but he's pushing skating already. It's actually a bit mind-blowing. All the examples were there in the build-up to this Mesmer edit, but then when this thing dropped, flip it now, man. It felt crazy, and it still feels like he's going to push it even further. I feel like he's got that energy. He's just going to take things to like whole new levels. This is not just the greatest comeback ever. I think he's well and truly, firmly put himself in the conversation for greatest skater ever. It's adaptability, it's open-mindedness, that when you see something new in rollerblading, you don't instantly go, well, it used to be better back in the day when we were doing this and that. It's going, hang about, that's quite interesting. Who's doing this well? Let's look at them. Taking it, making it your own, expanding your skill set. It just makes your appeal broader for people, and that's what champions do. You might even take that, start doing it, and it might lead to something else, and you'd be like, flip it, now I'm really glad I started this, because now I can do this absolute ridiculous maneuver that nobody's really doing. Bolino is an elite example of this, and what he's managed to achieve in his comeback is phenomenal. And although pretty much all of us won't be able to achieve the results that John has doing this, we can adapt the same approach. Like, we can be open-minded, we can take on new things, you know, just give them a try and see where it goes. Have a friggin' blast, man. Best comeback ever. Nice one, John Bolino. Spotty dog.